Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you right now. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you and your people. We plead the blood of Jesus over this building, and we ask that your anointing rest over the body. We pray that everything that be done decent and in order, and that you be glorified in the midst. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
So I'm going to assume you know any of us are going to pass the mic around. I'm going to start by introducing myself, Lieutenant Katrina Jackson Andrews. I got that dash now because I got married about a year and a half ago, and I'm proud of it. All right.
My name is Andy Ezel. I am the Louisiana Council for Magnolia. I'm sure about that.
I'm Francis Thompson, your state representative, District 19, along with this guy, son.
Hi, Karen Benjamin, Interim Chief Engineer for the Department of Health and Hospital Safety.
So most of
We actually have another item today that is not operating right.
it's fine. You guys are always
guys know one thing that I take pride in is economic development. Because it's the future. And I tell you a few things about it. 2022, I always say this, you know, I've been a state representative for 6 years, but I really say really 4 years. 2 of our years were taken by COVID. COVID was the only thing that we had to focus on. So in my 6 years, these 4 years working with Senator Jackson, Thompson, we really got some robust things done. And I'll share some of those things with you guys. First thing I did in 2022 was created the Delta Economic Research and Sustainability District. You go to deltasustainability.com. What I did, got the governor having a appointee, Commissioner of Agriculture, Senator Jackson, myself, Thompson, Senator Womack, and every town mayor, Tallulah, Lake Providence, Marion, they have an appointment to this board. The reason why we created this board, you'll notice that as we fight so hard to get funded, it's not the money for it. So this Delta Economic Research Sustainability District is able to get federal funds. As of today, we've gotten 4 federal grants for the region. Those more like the studies, those studies are being turned into money. You can always call our office on the website to learn more about those grants and the funding. Second thing that I've done, after Senator Jackson led the charge to have the government sit at the table with us to really Thompson, and I tell you, through their experience, I've learned a lot. Sitting back watching them. They was able to get the government to sit down with us. You see the money in the budget all together, have the government focus on this water. Please know, I know that this water is a long-standing issue. It's something that's important to all of us. Think about it. Even though I don't say much, who want elderly people not having fresh, clean drinking water? It's the most essential thing a person can have. So we don't come here because we can't. I can't persuade anyone to do anything, but I can support the decision of the council when they make a decision, and we do that. And as we talk about the water, one thing I did do, we created that DERS. It's an acronym for Delta Economic Research Sustainability District. We can discuss that over and over again. It's so important for our future. With the Water Council, we just created it, and each mayor submitted 2 people. I use this example. Tesla car's new electronic car. Let's say I get this new upgraded Tesla car, and I'm riding around Tallulah, Parish, Lake Providence. It's riding good. But if I don't have the proper engineers to continue to change oil, update that Tesla, that certified knows how to fix a Tesla, it's going to probably go down the drain very early. The same thing with advanced water systems. While we're getting this money, and we're fighting to get a new upgraded water system, with this water council, our goal is to, in the next 5 years, train the most robust group of people to have the Rural Water Association certifications, to have all the skills they need, go to national conferences, to have everything they need. So when we get these new water systems, they're good for 8 years. And after that, going back down the drain because you don't have a proper staff who's certified for these newly upgraded systems that are much different from the water systems of the past. Number 3, AI. We got to have Delta medical companies in town. But what are we doing? Well, Senator Jackson and First Coast have some funding that we're going to launch our first AI Institute. The goal in the next 6 years is to make sure our adults who is willing to learn this new skill set, but especially our young people graduate, don't need to get college degree. With this AI training, they'll be able to get these jobs and stop having to move to Dallas. We got a plan for the future, and with the Delta Economic Research Sustainability District, with the money we have in this program rolled out this year. Again, we can't just tap in the future without planning for it. We want to do better, but we're not planning. We want to be a better solution, a better region, but we're not planning. These are proper steps that take a long time to develop. But I want you to know that I've been working in and out, behind the scenes with the senator and representatives to make sure the stuff you see today, this stuff has been going on in 2022, but you're just not seeing it, because sometimes it takes things some time to develop. And lastly, to move downtown economic issue. I said it earlier to the elected official. I talked with Senator Jackson about it. We thought this was a great idea to start. But we started in February last year, we just got funded. Something under DERS, the Tallulah Downtown Development District. What does that do? It put a planning committee together on August 5th with the mayor, Louis. We have our first planning meeting with Tallulah Downtown Economic Development. And now that we have tackled the water issue, it's not complete, but when we discuss with businesses, other investors, or other interested parties, we can say, hey, we're serious about this. We are tackling the water, here's the proof. But now we're trying to move forward with our plan to make a place that's located out in Interstate 20, a place that's located on US 65, a place that's located by the river, got its own port, and its own rail system that should be doing amazingly economically. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, we need two people. We need two people that's going to be trained. Yes. We need two people that's going to get dirty and it does. Not just sitting in meetings, but the certification so when things go bad late at night, they're out there with their helmet and getting it fixed. We need those kind of people on the water council. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. And so, as I go to the, when I come to Senator Jackson about the Tallulah downtown economic district, she told me it's a good idea because we need to represent the city to help me get the funding for this stuff. Can't make it happen without the funding. They agreed to it, so this Archfield, we will be focused on that goal. Again, as I said, sometimes, let me just say this a bit powerful. Let me just say this before I sit down. I see the comments online, I see confusion, I see ugly comments, I see it, and who don't care, right? I tell you, we truly care. Sometimes you see the confusion, like, man, folks don't truly know the rules, what's really going on, and you don't care, you're like, man, we're fighting. We got one of the best delegations, right? We just became senior members. Last term, I couldn't do all that I could do this term, as I did my first term. Senator Jackson is sitting on the power committee. For instance, and now, I'm a vice chair now. Last term, COVID, we were there. So that's why we have the governor at the table, because you have a very powerful delegation now, who, when they ask for things, we can actually make it happen now. I can't do what I'm not able to do, but now with the responsibility of being a senior member in the legislature who knows the game and who's highly respected by my colleagues. Look, all my bills are passed at a very high rate. I would say that we work very hard. We don't want none of our areas to not have good water. We ask our city council members to work closely together. We ask all our elected officials to work closely together with us because Tallulah has improved now. We don't take advantage of this moment. It's going to pass us by. I want you to know I'm dedicated to you guys with the senator and Representative Thompson to do all I can. You will see me with boots on the ground, but not just showing up, taking pictures. I want to have real projects. So when we meet, we got something to go back to. I don't like just come to meet at a parade. So I'm at a parade so you see me downtown, or come to a meeting. Just, oh, he's showing up. What am I showing up for? We want to show up with some real solutions. And that's all I have for you guys. I look forward to any of you the best that I can. Thank you. That's my report.
Representative Johnson, he could go all day. I've heard him talk for hours. Where are you at? I'll vote for you. That's a good project. It's good to be here today. I'm not going to
consolidating, reducing certain board, to get, I guess the idea to get more efficiency, you know, to reduce them, streamline them, so you talk to those commissions.
So then generally, no, that I remember, but we'll check on the no bills passed regarding consolidating issues or anything. There was a bill that came forward when it left the Senate by substitute bill. It was not a good bill. I think Councilman Wells was first to text me about that bill, and others began to text me. When it went over to the House, working with the governor's office, because that was a majority package bill that started out in the Senate, it's just a standard recuration. Every
do the state offer some kind of funding, to give to the rural areas to help with some of the like?
There's a new program that was started last year by Office of Administration. I forgot what it was name, but you can apply for it. You come to the office, I can find an email, get it to you. There's a program you got to submit, and you have some funding for like that.
Thank you.
Anyone else with questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hi, it's Katrina. I want to say thank you for y'all doing a wonderful job in Madison, our area. I know it's not Tallulah as years, but it's right on our border. And thank you for making us that solar farm that's fabulous for our area. But I just want to do this. A lot of people in our area
officials here. I'm gonna try to, I know the mayor wants us to speak from here, so we're gonna just be collectively coming up as you have questions. We have experts here tonight. This is what I'll say, and I'm gonna give this intro. We may have disagreed on how we got here. We may have disagreed on why we're here. But what I cannot agree with anyone is that Governor Landry didn't keep his commitment once we were here. The state has spent around $3 million already triaging Tallulah's water plant. If you look at your sheet, that's additional money you're going to see on your sheet. It does not include the water sector money that is at some point is being converted to use for the water sector for the triage. I'll take you to a cycle. The council voted to go into receivership after meeting with the governor. I think most councilmen were there when we met with the governor's office, those who could attend. It was a hard decision, so I don't care who they voted for or who voted for it. My thing is, when there's a majority vote of the council, at that point, we kick it because there was an issue with Tallulah's water, okay? So receivership went in on, 6 to 8 months? Right. And the report was this, it's gonna cost 24 schools more than $1 million to fix the water system. But that was only the plant, not the system, because I consider the system to be the distribution system as well, okay? Also, the report that was more shocking than anything was that from our former, I cannot believe she quit on this, she just retired and left us.
but it appears to be. When they do happen to flush, it takes several hours for me to just get the clear water. Then I've got to clear my hot water tanks. So when you say don't flush my home, I would never get clear water. Never. But here's the thing. So it's easy to say that, and then they are charging me, because they charge me for 12,000 gallons this month. Almost $200. That's not including sewer or garbage. And they just can't do that. That's not legal for them to do that. They know we're flushing. I mean, literally, my home is being destroyed with mud and bathrooms. Literally. And so when you say don't flush that out, the stress of, I mean, sometimes I look at my faucet and I'm like, will anything else come through there other than mud? Because literally sometimes it's black. It's like sludge come through there. And all I'm thinking is, if that can come through, can a snake come through there? What can come through there? So when you say don't flush, it's easy to say that when you're not experiencing that in your home.
We've had some times before in the rural areas in Washington Parish where that has happened. But we do caution it because you're going to receive large bills. The water usage is what when you're flushing, your water usage goes up, and I know you know that, and I don't have to preach that to you.
Right. So you're saying they cannot credit us when they know we're flushing? Because now before they took over, Tallulah had a system, it didn't work all the time, but they would get the reading, let you flush. When it cleared, they came back and got the reading again. We weren't paying for that. Now Magnolia's just refused to do that, and then they're charging us for it, which is completely unfair. It's not legal.
I'm gonna let the expert talk to you about the flushing, but I will tell you, if they begin to credit people, we're going to be in the same situation as before. There is not enough collections to cover the cost. That's why the state is kicking in so much money. At some point, if the state continues to kick in the money before we start actually rehabbing the system, there's not going to be any money to rehab the system. It's a numbers game with us, right? We don't generally come in and pay for water systems. Right now, we're paying for a triage. At some point, we hope to get out of the triage phase and really rehab the system. They're going to go over every number with you so you can understand the numbers of this today.
I'm not saying the numbers, but the numbers for me, because I'm spending hundreds of dollars on water and fluoride. So I'm spending, the numbers for me are exorbitant too. Because if I can't flush, that means I can't wash them. I have to wash them dry. That means I got to go travel to Vicksburg, because you can't trust the ones here. I got to spend money going to Vicksburg. So when we talk about numbers, it's numbers for me as well. So now what about federal aid? So you're saying even though we're a subdivision of the state, you all saying you're not supposed to do this, but we need the help. So we're saying the federal government, are we asking the federal government to kick in any money?
Which is still secure. It still wouldn't be enough money to pay for the rehab of the water plant, and then we still have to pay for the rehabbing of the distribution center. So the federal government has committed how much is bond through the USDA? The federal government committed how much through the yes.
7.8 billion, $4 million
Water coming from the plant. Water coming from the plant is not poisonous. Now, there may be something going on in your home. I don't know if they specifically test faucets.
Well, it's not. There's nothing wrong with my home. There's nothing wrong with my
I'm
home.
saying the distribution, I know it's coming to your home, but the water from the plant is tested.
But the problem I have with that, let me say this, and I'm like, some departments here, you're testing it at the plant. That doesn't matter to me when I'm using the water in my home. I don't care if the plant is clean and clear for you to say, but in my home, it's coming in brown and poison. So the thing is, I can't go to the plant and wash my home. I cannot bathe. I cannot drink the water at the plant. It's my home is where I live.
No, and I totally understand.
It's just I feel you. What we do right now, let's just listen to the experts so we all get educated together. And then the question I ask we all make a real with you understand. I promise I do. So experts will go, LDH, and then we'll go with the questions.
You ready to know? That mic is not working.
Everybody hear me?
No.
Hello. Good evening. As I said earlier, my name is Andy Ezel. I am regulatory counsel and basically general counsel for Magnolia Water here in Louisiana. I know that you've heard the word Magnolia now for about 2 months, but you probably don't know very much about the people that the governor has entrusted with the rehabilitation and operation and maintenance of your water system. I first began representing Magnolia in 2018 when they came to my office. They had 1,200 customers total. None of them were in Louisiana. They were in Missouri and Arkansas. Today, Magnolia has over 50,000 sewer connections throughout the state, from the southwestern tip all the way to Madison, and we service 25,000 water connections. So that's how much this company is committed to the citizens of the state of Louisiana. We have today taken off of non-compliant over 254 systems that we require. It's probably more than any company has ever taken out of non-compliance and into compliance. I have here with me today also Mr. Brad Tebow. Brad is the Director of Operations and Technical Services for Magnolia and for their parent company, Central States Water Resources. And really, I think, let it start. Brad, I'd like to speak to the groundwater issue. So if you come up, I want to speak to that. I do want you to know that one of the most difficult things that we face, and we do not buy, I tell people all the time, we don't buy Volvos. We buy Yugos. So all the systems that we operate are either failing or on the brink of failure. They are small, they're mid-sized, most of them are private community systems. But that's what we specialize in. But I'm going to have Brad give you some idea about why you have a distribution, what happens in a distribution system, and why some people may have clear water and some people may have a discoloration in their water. He's the expert. I'm going to give that part of it to him.
I'm not a real expert, but I am. But just to address you, Troy, and everybody in the room, I mean, one of the first things that we noticed when we came in 4.5 months priority was to be able to address the issues that was causing the plant not to be able to hydraulically push water to the water tower. So that was our first project that we identified and had that corrected within 4 weeks. And then after that was corrected, overnight we were able to fill the water tower completely full, which hasn't been done in probably a decade. Okay. So with that, we were able to start the plan and schedule flushing activities. The other thing that we looked at was problematic areas in the distribution system, specifically dead ends, where those areas of the distribution system do not get flushed because there's typically not a hydrant on the end of those dead ends. So what we did was systematically, kind of look at historical service orders, work order requests, what we had, during water requirements. And then from that, we installed auto flushers across the system based on those service order water quality issues that came in. So those have been working very well. We do have one on the line that goes to Joy's house. She's on a dead line. That has improved water quality significantly since we've done that. But another piece of the puzzle is dead ends. And removing dead ends from the system and looping the system, that will help as well. So that is what everybody else was discussing earlier, as far as distribution, repair replacement activities. That's something that we're looking at already. We're already identifying areas where we've had main breaks, where we've got dead ends. We understand how we can put together a comprehensive plan to address dead ends, things of that nature. The other piece is another treatment technique to put in place. Again, we're talking about 20 plus years of this deferred maintenance and not doing what needs to be done. Okay, so that takes a lot of time to address and get out of the system. Okay, so we're working right now with our engineering firm in Louisiana to get plans submitted to LDH for approval for that treatment technique. So once we have that in place, I strongly believe within 9 to 12 months, this issue that we're having today in regards to water quality and distribution is going to be minimal. Okay? If it's not gone completely. That system in place, that treatment technique, along with scheduling, planning, flushing activities. Again, we're looking at right now as we speak. I've been in discussions with my operations director that we need to identify additional areas in distribution, specifically dead ends, and where we're having our larger scale of complaints coming from water based on water quality issues, so we can install additional auto flushers. Okay? And what those do is they'll run every night, and we typically run those like midnight to 4 a.m. in that period of time, so it's not really impacting anybody if they're doing anything outside, whatever it might be. Okay? Some of the issues that we've dealt with is sometimes the ditch lines are over moist, but again, trying to be proactive in addressing the water quality issues. And sometimes we have to do things like that in the interim, okay, in order to improve water quality. And I know sometimes that can be a nuisance to people, especially people who like to take care of their yards. I'm one of those people, trust me, I'm very deep about it. But it's something that we need to be able to do in order to improve water quality for everybody in the community. Okay, so once we get the additional rounds of auto flushers installed, I know that is going to really help push things even further, for the better. Okay, and once we get the other treatment technique in place, I firmly believe within 9 to 12 months, we're not going to be standing here talking about this issue. Okay, that doesn't mean that we don't have any other distribution system issues. We do, right? There's a lot of due diligence that still needs to be, went through as far as, reviewing the system and what still needs to be repaired, replaced, things of that nature. But that's just a brief overview of what's going on, what we've been doing since we've been here in regards to trying to improve water quality. Yeah, go ahead. My director of operations is sitting here tonight with me. I am the director of operations technical services for Central States Water Resources, which is also Magnolia. But we operate and manage systems across 11 states. So I'm responsible for everything across the 11 state portfolio, where Heath is dedicated to the operations here in Louisiana.
So folks, maybe you should let them go through the information.
Yeah.
Because your question might be answered by something they say. So let's let them go through the information and then you can ask.
And just to clarify, he's over day-to-day operations in Tallulah. For Patterson, who is our own member.
Distribution pipes. So we do have a new well. My understanding in the past, and I don't think I was there when it was happening, there has been some work done on the distribution system. It's been a while, and I couldn't tell you exactly how much it is, but there's a lot that needs to be done. Well, I think that's what they're addressing now. I think the senator has said,
There is still infrastructure in the distribution system that still needs to be addressed. So that's part of our due diligence that we'll be looking at, looking where we need to address those types of concerns in distribution. We've already replaced 500 foot of galvanized pipe, since we've been here, which was 2 inches small galvanized main. Those things are things that we need to have taken out of the system. And it is there. And to answer your question, when you asked Yvonne, they have replaced some of the distribution piping before we were here. So you've got kind of a hodgepodge of what's out in distribution right now. Until that due diligence is done, we will not truly understand what it is we're doing until we go through that process. That answer your question? Thank you. Very good.
Okay, let's talk about where we are, talk about where we have been, how we got here, and what it's going to take for us to get the Tallulah water system operating efficiently, reliably for every citizen in this community. Victoria, would you like to change that? Okay. As we all know, the governor issued a state of emergency in February. We executed an emergency operating agreement with the state on February the 17th. That was a one-year contract. It expires February 17, 2026. We're going to try to do everything we possibly can to triage the system, whether it be a distribution issue, whether it be a plant issue, whether it be a well issue, filter issue, it doesn't matter. Whatever we are confronted with on a day-to-day basis, that's what we deal with to try to make the system work as well as it possibly can in the condition that it's in. The circumstances that Tallulah faces are no different than any other small and mid-sized community in the state or throughout the United States. You've got a significant amount of population loss. Probably 25 years ago, you had 20,000 people that lived here. Okay? That this system was supporting those folks. Now you have approximately 7,800, 8,000 people in the community, and now it's those folks that are responsible for paying the costs that were being spread over a larger base before you lost all that population. This is not atypical. You know, it's not atypical. We have a system in Tallulah Parish. When Rocket's in receivership, we're going to buy it out of receivership. Same thing. They just didn't have the population base. They didn't have the personnel, and it just slowly went into a death spiral. That was the first system that the governor declared an emergency on. So this is something that we see throughout the country, okay, where we operate. But it's certainly not foreign to small and mid-sized communities in Louisiana. In 2022, Louisiana Department of Health instituted a water grading system. They implemented a program to grade water systems, both private and public, throughout the state. And in 2022, you can change that, Victoria. In 2022, Tallulah received an F grade. Received an F grade because using the criteria that LDH used, it scored a 49 out of 100. In 2023, that grade remained an F, but only 37% of the criteria were being met. You can change that. And last year, 2024, Tallulah scored a 29 out of 100. So you can see that there's a continuing spiral down. And this is why the state of emergency was ultimately declared. You couldn't go on any further. Okay, it was going to collapse under its own weight. Much of the decline in the system has resulted from the fact that there's not sufficient revenue to properly operate and maintain it. Change. Thanks, Victoria. Before we took over, for an 8-month period that from I think July of 2024 to February this year, the system lost on average $50,000 a month. Okay, that did not include servicing your debt. Over the last 2.5 years, the general fund of the city has had to supplement the revenue for the water system by almost $500,000. You cannot sustain the operation of a water system with those kinds of shortfalls. Yeah. Say again. From your records. From your records. Pardon me? Yes. Yes.
So you're saying the city clerk?
Yes. That's correct. When the system went into joint receivership back in June, that was a joint effort on the part of Tallulah as well as the state. Tallulah put up $200,000. The state put up over $400,000. That, I know we talked about the receiver. I'm not going to talk about the receiver. They were good folks, okay? They did what they were capable of doing and professionally what they were trained to do, but they were not operators. They had no idea exactly how this system operated, how to repair it, how to maintain it. certainly not how to fix it. So that was the first funding that was brought to bear on this failing system, and that began in June of last year. You can see this figure, $30 million. That's ultimately what we're projecting it will take in order to restore and provide the city of Tallulah with a system that is sustainable and that will deliver the safe, efficient, reliable water service that you should expect and that you're entitled to. No. None of the projected $30 million in future capital costs include any repair or replacement of the distribution system. And I want to tell you, when we go into any system that we buy, typically they're built, by somebody else. They are built by a developer. Okay? Developers try to do things as cheaply as they can. Yeah. What I'm simply saying is that typically it is the distribution system that is the most problematic for us. Okay? So our experience here in Tallulah is no different than our experience in any other system that we operate. That's what I want to accentuate. Okay, Victoria. Yes. Say again.
You're saying it's going to buy systems?
We do buy. We do. But I'm just saying that when we do, that's what we find. I'm not saying anything about buying this system. I'm simply saying that when we do acquire a system, the most difficult problem that we have to deal with is dealing with the distribution system, which is underground and which is usually subject to decay. It's been there for 30 years. It's been there for 35 years. It may have been there for 40, 45 years. It just depends. So, when Brad Tebow first came here and took a look at this system, he's got 27 years of experience. Within 24 hours, he called CSWR management and told them it was the worst circumstance that he'd ever seen in 27 years.
Say that again?
It was the worst condition of a water system that he had seen in 27 years of experience. We came in and began operating in February of 2025. In June, after having operated the system for 4 months, Brad had to adjust his projected phase 1 triage number from 2.5 million to 4.9 million. Of that 4.9 million, Magnolia has invested $1.5 million today. That is money that is going to be reimbursed to Magnolia by the state. You might say, well, what? You guys put your money into this, and with no expectation, no knowledge that you were going to have a source of funding to pay you back. The answer is yes. And the reason for that is because we knew the government was counting on us, and we knew that the citizens of this community needed us. And that's why we made that commitment. Yes.
Guaranteed.
partners.
And they are partners, listen, I'm not saying
And
they're not good partners, I said that, but I just didn't want anybody thinking the money had to come.
We knew that reimbursement was coming. We just didn't know what the source was going to be, but because of the senator's efforts, because of the governor's efforts, we know that that funding is coming. It may come, incrementally, and that's just fine. Our specific purpose here is to provide you clean, potable water, and that's what we intend to do. No, we were never involved in that. We were never involved in that. No one has and nobody will. Nobody has and nobody will. The reason is because it is economically unfeasible. It's not going to happen.
He's going to tell you about, he's telling you about what's going on now and what's future. There were a lot of proposed things that just didn't pan out by nature. It is not feasible even now, and the state will talk more about that to condemn. Okay?
So I just ask this question, so we know that, it is taking care of our money, the revenue, that's coming in. Where does that money actually go? Is it going back in to actually?
He has a presentation, that's what
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that.
Presentation, that's all in the presentation. Everything that I asked him on your behalf, they did put in the presentation, everything that Thompson, Johnson, the LPH officials, you gotta get through this presentation. Right, when you get through this presentation, you're gonna see all of their numbers, all of the finances and everything. That's why I only interrupt when it's something that they say, oh my God, we want to pay this. But if we get through this presentation, you're gonna see every number.
Good. Victoria. Okay, our projection now is that for the phase 1 triage, $4.9 million. As I said, that's what we adjusted our numbers in June. But the total amount for the phase 2, the complete restoration of your system, we have had our own long-term assessment evaluated by experts, and that number is, regardless of the type of disinfection system that's selected, is going to be at or about $25 million. So the total cost, of restoring this system, to include triaging it and keeping it alive, and then ultimately creating the system that is required in order for you to not have to have the circumstances that Joy has. No, that's not what we want. We don't want you under those circumstances under none of our customers. That's what we do. What we do is we serve. And as Brad said, we're going to try to do everything we possibly can. If in fact we can get distribution or a solution to your problem, and we can get it in and expedite that, that's what we'll do, It's just, one of the things Brad did mention is we have a hard time knowing where the pipes are, because we do have some maps, but we don't have maps of the entire system. And the maps that we do have aren't necessarily accurate. So the distribution is a problem, it always is, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. You have people that are diligently working to solve that problem. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, I don't know if y'all can see this. These are our figures. This is the presentation of the income and expense that we have experienced from February 2025 through June 2025. Okay. Can I get over? Yeah, I'll get you a copy. You have to let me wear these goofy glasses that I wear if I'm gonna do this. You can see that the total revenues that we've generated since we've begun operation is just over $680,000. Yeah, it's just over, it's 680 plus that. Our operation and maintenance expense, $458,518. Our general and administrative expenses, $14,541. Miscellaneous bond payments, we've made 3 of the debt service payments on your current bond issue. You need to know that the current balance on your bonds is $5 million. Sure.
Let me kind of step in just for a second on these numbers. When you're hearing your bond balance, that's money that was expended, whether to repair or that debt, let me say this, that the city has incurred in the past that still remains. So when you hear $5 million, every month, $60,000 is due on that bond debt, okay? So when you're hearing bond debt, that is indebtedness you incurred as a town at some point to keep your water system up and repaired. That's $60,000 a month. I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure you understand it. When he's talking about revenue, your collections, okay? Let's say since they took over from year to date, which was March 2025, okay? Your collections, what they have collected is $681,737.95. That's your contribution, okay? That's what's collected from the citizens. The operation and maintenance is operation plus maintenance plus everything is $458,518.71 since they took over. Magnolia took over operating the plant, okay? Your general and administration is $14,451, which if you signed up for the email, you're going to get a copy of this, okay? Your bond payment for the last 3 months, because Magnolia makes that bond payment. Remember, it's $61,000, so $60,000 is $180,555.52. Your miscellaneous payroll, because he's going to talk about the payroll, but let me just go through the numbers, is $89,276.37. Your total expenditures year to date is $742,891.70. Your net loss, because you're at a loss right there, is $61,153.75 year to date. The state will cover that loss, okay? Then your capital expenses. Capital expenses are the repairs that are not normal repairs. That's the triage, okay? Is $1,565,529.24. Total cash expenditure in the negative, okay, which the state covers, is $1,626,682.99. When he says before, now at some point I'm going to call the clerk up after all his presentation over to explain the numbers he gave prior to taking over. But if you're asking, yes, you are contributing, okay? But even with what's being paid in water bills, right now with all of the repairs, all of the administration and everything, for March to June,
The negative balance is $1,626,682.99. That is why this was not sustainable right now. Because you wouldn't have had the revenue to fix anything. We wouldn't have had the revenue to fix anything. This sheet will be emailed to you so you can look exactly at where the money is going. Yes, you are making a contribution, but the state is kicking in at one point, and this is as of June. This doesn't include July. The state is kicking in at 1.6 million, and that's what it's covering. So I know there's been a lot of misnomer about whether or not somebody is making a profit. The profit that Magnolia makes is the profit that we have contracted with them for how much to manage a month? $16,000 each month to manage a system is what the state is totally on our bill paying Magnolia. So I kind of wanted to get up on this so you could really understand the finite breakdown of what's happening with money. Okay? Yes, ma'am. So let me talk to you after this because I'm going to have to dig into that to even talk to you about it. But I just wanted you to understand that nobody's making a huge profit. What's being made by the company the state is paying. And it is a contracted amount that the state is obligated to pay. They don't make any more off of any collections. Matter of fact, collections is not covering the cost. We're $1.5 billion for that many months in the hole. Okay? You will get this slide. He's going to explain to you about that payroll reimbursement and all of that.
We agreed with the city because for a period of time, from the time that we took over to June the 6th, we had basically borrowed the city employee. So this $89,276.37 is the reimbursement to the city for the period from February to June of the net payroll of the employees that we borrowed for that period of time. Those employees are now employed by our third-party operator. Those expenses basically are being paid by Magnolia to the operator, to our third-party operator. But I just wanted to make it clear that that was a reimbursement obligation that we contracted and that we have satisfied. I'd also like to point out that if that $89,000 payment was not there, then that amount of money for a period from February to June would have been spread out. And so the results for each month would probably, certainly would have been less than we're reflecting here. Okay, Victoria, we can go on from there. All right, Brad, I want you to come up and I want you to explain these photos. What these photos are intended to do is to show you exactly what condition this system, the plant itself, was in, and what we have had to do in order to fill the underground tank, in order to fill the water tower, sometime for the first time in 7 to 10 years. There's nobody better to explain it to you than Brad because he's been here from the get-go.
Thanks, Andy. So, just for everybody to know, the worse condition. It collapsed. The beams underneath the roof were laying in the bottom of the tank. So this was project number 2 that we got off the ground and was completed in March. So the 2 pictures in the bottom are pictures of the rehabilitated ground storage tank. During this phase, we removed on an average of 12 foot of lime sludge that was built up in this tank. So again, just to kind of give you some technical lingo, typically these tanks should be taken down every 5 years, inspected, drained, and cleaned. Okay? So again, yeah, right here, the picture up in the left-hand corner is a picture of the amount of sludge buildup that was in the ground storage tank. When we,
So while he's talking, you kind of just want to walk around and see him. You can see him.
yeah. So, and then the picture in the bottom left-hand corner is a picture of the rehabilitated inside interior of the tank. The right top-hand corner is a picture of the high service pump building, and then the one in the right lower corner is another picture of the high service pump building since it's been addressed as far as painting and things of that nature. Yeah, and that's a big part of the ground storage tank. And what I mentioned earlier about the water tower not being able to fill it up, there was a valve in the ground, on the plant ground, that was not functional, and it was partially restricting flow. So that was really kind of the bottleneck of why we were not able to fill the water tower. So again, we identified that within just a few days of being on site. Again, like I mentioned earlier, that was one of the very first projects that we did. So, go ahead, next slide, please. All right, the pictures on the left, top and bottom, were existing photos of the high service pump room, these are the pumps that deliver finished water into the distribution system. So, the picture on the right-hand side is a picture of us when we finished rehabilitating the high service pump room. Same thing here. The top 2 pictures, this is the chlorine room when we first arrived on site. The 2 bottom photos are pictures of us actually rehabilitated the chlorine room. And just to let you guys know, the inside, all of the moving parts, components, things of that nature were also replaced as well. And then here, the top 2 pictures, the one left-hand corner, that is the process control room where lab analysis were performed on samples collected in the water treatment plant. The one on the upper right-hand corner, that is basically like a maintenance room, break room. And then the 2 in the bottom left and right are just pictures of the lab and the maintenance building, the maintenance room that rehabilitated. I went back now. Joy, you give us one.
We're going to give them the next time.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is that, I wash my hands over here. That water's clear and clean. I wish everyone had that, but it tells me that many people who did not have it. I know that your water was like coffee coming out of the tap, regardless of where you were in the loop. That's not the case. We are making progress, but Rome was built in a day, and it can't be
just to let you know, I take it personal, the rest of us do. We're here to make sure that we can get this addressed for everybody in this community.
Just basically a statement concerning the call to action that we sent. Our intent for the day was to time resources capital necessary for local officers, and I'm sure they will comply. We work very closely. I'm glad that we work very closely, almost on a daily basis, with the Louisiana Department of Health. Very happy to know that Karen Benjamin, the acting chief engineer for the state of Louisiana, and Jennifer is, what's wrong with my brain, Jen? Jennifer Kilgan is here also. So I think that their presence is indicative of the state's commitment to, and then Stewart being here, representing the governor, and you have your senator, your representatives. We're all working in concert. There's nothing that's going on that all of us don't know about, okay, as we go through this process. The Louisiana Department of Health, Jennifer and Karen, they are working with us to expedite requests that we may make for approvals, to get applications processed properly, and I just simply want to leave you with the knowledge that there's no one at this table or in the audience. Pam has been a fantastic contributor to our efforts with open, forthright communication. I knew the first time I spoke to her on the phone that we were going to have a very, very efficient and effective working relationship. I guess that's because she knew deep down I was a Delta boy too. So it's been our pleasure, to embark on this journey. We're a long way from the end of it. We're going to stick with it as long as the governor wants us to be involved. And ultimately, at some point in the future, I'd like to have a town hall where nobody showed up. Because usually when you have a town hall, most of the people that come are not necessarily happy. So next time, maybe we'll call a meeting and everybody be so happy that we can cancel. But thank y'all very much. If you have any questions for me, just let me know. How's 24?
Should help, yes, absolutely. Go ahead. Karen might already be able to address that for us, but again, it is something that I do have on my list of tasks to get done while we're here.
So you're saying that there's another water source or one of these trees?
I want to have a review of the existing aquifer performed to verify what it is we're dealing with, and can it be sustainable for the next 50 to 100 years?
So that means we will not tap into another water source. I mean, that's on the table. And the reason why I'm asking, because even though you're doing a liquid line, chemicals are costly. And with the guys I talked to, the water experts, and they said they would.
It's an interim solution. The long-term solution is not going to include lime softening. So that part of the equation is coming out. Okay?
So
That will be addressed.
so another water system is off the table.
No, what?
I didn't understand what you said. What you're saying is right.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
He's going to test, he has on his desk, that they have to test the aquifer before they can make that decision. The water source, I guess.
The aquifer that we're pulling out of, that's correct.
And Vicksburg is pulling out the same aquifer. I know, but the reference was made to Vicksburg. A reference was made to Vicksburg, so when they said, why can't we pull from, someone asked, why can't we pull from the Vicksburg source? That is the same source we were pulling from, that's a wrong clarification.
Less chemicals on that board. So the reason I'm asking, because you all mentioned earlier about the financial stability, whether or not we can pay for that type of system. So if we were to utilize another aquifer, we would have to pay as much money in chemicals.
So everything is answered the question about it.
As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, this is an interim approach to a long-term solution, and the long-term solution does not include lime softening.
So the long-term, here was my question. Will the long-term solution include a possibility of utilizing another aquifer?
It's not off the table. Once we have a study done on the existing aquifer, we understand what we're dealing with, then we can take a look at that. Yes.
About the answer to the question in totality about the council.
All right, so we've actually been talking to Tallulah for years. All right, it has been mentioned to them about utilizing another source. Yes, there's other sources nearby that do not require extensive treatment. It is not up to us. We do not know why it wasn't explored previously. Those who do know that it is, those sources are a ways away, so it would require significant infrastructure to pull that water to your town. And it may not be economically feasible to lay that pipeline and get it to the town. But that needs to be looked at by the engineer that's going to be looking at the long-term plan, if that's going to actually be cheaper in the long run to do over putting in a new plan, then that would be what's recommended. But that was discussed, I remember years ago that we did, try to get Tallulah to talk to Walnut Bayou and other systems about connecting to those, connecting to them, or even adding another source that wasn't in this area, that didn't have the same contaminants, that required extensive treatment.
And so that was requested by LDA during checking history. That
Then they go into the permanent solutions, and from what we're hearing from both of them, Magnolia and the state, is those solutions will be looked at, Councilmembers.
All right, so I did want to cover that, so LDH's primary role is to monitor the water systems on a routine basis to ensure safety. All right, we routinely monitor the distribution system for bacteria. We monitor the water leaving the plant routinely for chemicals. If they're elevated, we increase monitoring to quarterly monitoring. And for Tallulah, we do increase monitoring quarterly for the metals because there is arsenic in one of the wells. And so we do monitor arsenic every quarter along with other secondary contaminants that cause the aesthetic issues that you see in your home. All right, so the plant that they're working with does not remove 100% of those contaminants. All right, the monitoring that we do quarterly indicates that the levels of arsenic for sure are less than the MCL, which is the maximum allowable level set by EPA to indicate that it's safe. The arsenic has been less than the MCL, but it's mostly less than half the MCL. Last year it did get up to almost half the MCL. Actually, it might have exceeded a little bit over half the MCL. But with Magnolia taking over and doing all the improvements they've done with the plant, that arsenic level has been reduced back down to half the MCL. All right. Iron and manganese, which are secondary contaminants, they cause the black particulate particles that you see, as well as that rust color, which is from the iron. That is also removed through the plant. Again, it's not 100% removal. We did see that those levels did reduce from last year compared to last year after they've taken over. But the issue is that the distribution system over the years has accumulated the iron and manganese. And so until that distribution system is addressed, you're going to still see discolored water when there are hydraulic changes in the system. Anytime there's a pressure change, flushing can even stir up the iron and manganese, and it's going to cause discolored water issues. Now, when we get complaints, we do go out and collect the chemical samples from the distribution system to see what the levels are. And if they are at unsafe levels, we would ensure that the public is aware. And we have done sampling in Tallulah's distribution system in the past. We're aware that we're still having issues, so we will come out and collect samples near you. Soon, probably next week. Today's probably too late to get somebody out this week, but definitely next week. And so, we'll alert you if the levels are not safe. But for iron and manganese, it'll likely be over the secondary MCL. Those are guidelines that are set to just indicate that they're going to be aesthetically pleasing when it's not necessarily meaning it's unsafe. I know it doesn't. If it meets the primary MCLs, it's considered safe to drink. Yes, ma'am. Tell you that it's within safe levels of the contaminants that are regulated by EPA.
Would you drink that water, ma'am?
Sorry?
Would you drink that water? On purpose?
So I would not advise you to drink that. I would advise you to flush your house.
And I'm sure
You see
people.
that water, yes.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm sure.
But now, we got to say flush out, because y'all say the state law says you know where your money from. So now, that's a contradiction thing. And I should not have to go to court, but I intend to go, I should not
And would you shower in that water?
No.
I'm not looking at her. Personally,
Yes,
if
actually.
it was your mother or your father, would
Yes.
you shower in that water?
Yes, I actually had lived on a private well that had that colored water, and I did shop.
Okay. Maybe, Mr. Francis said that we have, Meta and that excellent water come from Nigger Ridge. Can we use that water over there with them then? Can we hook up with that Nigger Ridge water? If it's so great, and it's less contaminant, I'm sure that would make sense. Can we do that? It's a matter of fact, can we hook up to that water? I'm just asking questions, because
So I've lived in Louisiana and South Louisiana, and I was gonna say when you asked Karen about bathing in it, every water system I've lived on in Louisiana has had high iron and manganese, and because I live on subdivision systems where it's like 100 homes and it's a water system, we don't have filtration or a sequestering agent, so our water, like I did bathe my children in that water because based off of our sample results, it was safe for them to bathe in. So I just wanted to share that as an LDH person. But yeah, I don't know how I get lucky enough to, when my husband moves us, to end up on a water system that has high iron and manganese. But somehow I win the lottery every single time. So I just wanted to share that.
Yes,
Thank you. I just want to speak to everybody real fast because I love history and I love Tallulah, Madison, Parish, and I want to thank all of y'all for showing up. And this is not y'all's fault, but we have an extraordinary litigation history, and I'm going to go really fast and answer some of y'all's questions about why we cannot.
litigation experts here, so we want to speak to the water issue.
Oh, this is the water issue.
I understand
I'm only on the water
that
issue.
we don't have-
I want y'all to keep up with the paperwork that they have given you, and they have been so honest to be able to send that to us, especially, and I want to highlight this, keep up with the paper that said that they had lead in the water, and it is on our side, the distribution system. I want you to really focus on that, and I tell you why. The distribution system, when I started looking into the numbers, is statistically higher than Michigan, and if you want to sue, do a real good copy and paste real super fast, that is a really good place to start digging into that information on what we need to do to fix our system, because that is the number one place where they sue, and it is the current case on point with the U.S. Supreme Court, where the U.S. government has responsibility to fix a problem when there is a problem with a water system, which is what we have. So it's a real good place to start. But I want to address some of the other things that were stated. The reason being, and I
Some of the questions we cannot go through history.
oh, I'm sorry, it's not too long. I'm not.
Let me get a couple. Like I told you, I promise you, we had time, we come back. There are a lot of citizens that have asked those questions that we need to get to, okay?
Okay, I just have 2 or 3 things, and I actually can answer those 2 or 3
We'll come back
things.
to you if we have time.
Okay.
Thank you.
one question to
Yes,
ask
sir.
y'all. Since, and we're grateful that the state has come in, because he said, was that Brad? Did you Brad? Yeah. He said, the word system, you've seen in 27 years.
Well, yeah,
You never seen this is the word.
I've been doing this a long time, I trust you, I've never seen anything special.
So when you look at the things, guys, this is and thank you for coming, thank y'all for coming in, say, but the numbers, like you said.
And thank you, council, for voting for us to come in, because it had to be by council action.
So, council, so back to this, since y'all know the numbers and the money, and it's all about the numbers, like you said, the numbers don't lie, and the state don't have the money for it. But since they said, what about can y'all come in and y'all come in and take the water system? What about the finance, the money? Y'all know the numbers
So
of the
we
money.
did not, so to understand the process,
Okay, I'm listening.
initially the city council voted to go into receivership. We
this 4th of July, I decided to start passing out water. So I asked for donations from the citizens of Tallulah for the help buy this water from Mr. Doug. And I think it's about 8 people that donated money. And all of it came out to about $400. So I talked to Mr. Doug, and he gave me 4 crates of water for $400. That was a good deal. Okay, I hang out at the council on aging, and 40 cases of this water went to the council on aging. You know, they deliver about 200 meals a day. So what they had to do, they had to separate this water to give, try to make sure that somebody got some of this water that the home line. So what I'm going to get tonight, I'm asking citizens for some donations to help. Mr. Doug is willing to do me some great deals, you know. Like I said, 8 people donated money for me to get this water. They know who they were, so I won't call them that. But I just asked for some donations. Because like I said, he's willing to give me a crate of water for $100. And I just want to get this in. So if anybody want to donate some money for y'all, leave something good. Child. Okay, thank you.
Somebody believes that we got a couple
before you close, the city of Tallulah just wants to thank you for putting this together, for bringing everyone out to answer the questions, that everyone had. I think everyone knows now that